or 5 different cameras that I want to render all out, and sometimes that becomes difficult. I can go into video post to do that, and I can do batch renders to do that, but state sets gives us the ability to do that as well. So this scene has a couple cameras in it and a little teapot here. I'm gonna just bring up Zookeeper, and in this scene you can see that I have this teapot, we have an environment. Just for the fun of it, I'm going to bring up our material and object sharing website, the zoo. So if I go to zoo.ephere.com, you'll see all these different presets that we've made for people to download into and templates to use. I'm just going to go into the materials and I'm going to grab this car paint, and this will bring this car paint template right into Zookeeper for me. All the different parameters I have set up and exposed for car paint are here, but we'll take that and just pipe it into the material. That way we can render this guy out with its car paint shader. So from here, we're going to go into state sets. I'm going to go to views and ask this to be a object layer state set setup, and that gives me this like this. And really I just want to kind of adjust some of the cameras so that I can render these out. So the first thing I'm going to do, you can see I have a little animation here, and there are 3 cameras set up in the scene. So I'm going to press record on state 1, and I'm going to bring up the render dialog. I'm going to go from 0 to 10, and then I'm going to save this out. And now that that's been saved there, we've set our simple range for it. We're all set. So I'll call this shot 1, and we'll just create a new one, which I'll call shot 2, and just go through the same process. So I'm going to record this, go into render, and I want the range to be 11 through 20, and I'll save this out with any name into any folder I want. Stop recording and create one more set, and I'll record with that, and I'm going to set this to be 21 through 30. We're going to save this guy out, and I can stop recording that. Now, you can see when I change for each one of these, if I go into it, you can see I've added all these different render properties for where I've saved, and we can kind of see what's happening with each one. The one thing that I neglected to do is actually set the camera. Camera 1 is all set for this one, but for the next one, I want that to be camera 2. So just to kind of show the flexibility, I wanted to re-record. We don't have to re-record all the other properties. You can just add to this. So I'm going to go and change this to camera 2 and hop out of that, and then record this one and make sure that that is changed to camera 3, okay, and then we can hop out of that one. So now we have camera 1, camera 2, and camera 3. It's all going to render out, and we'll work with that. So if I want to render all these out, I can just right click on the state sets and say render all states. So I'll just do that, and you'll see that this will render through, and it switches its camera after 10 frames, and it goes to the next one. So now I've just rendered out a simple set of different cameras for my scene, which is a real easy way to do kind of a real basic render passes. The other thing that we can use this for is full-blown render passes. So I'm just going to go back into that scene that we were working with before. So here we'll bring up Zookeeper, and I'm going to add a state set manager, and I'm going to just double click on this state set, rename it AO. And we can see just the regular render for this scene before we do any changes here. And very likely we would add final gather and global illumination and a lot higher sample rate, but for right now, just for this demo, this is going to suffice. I'm going to turn on our record. Then I'm going to go into the render and go into our material override and go into the material editor here and just drag that over. Make sure we have that there. I'm also going to go into the environment and make sure that the exposure control is turned off. And while I'm doing this, I can just render this out and tune anything that I might want. I think for right now this will be okay. You can see we have a global AO pass here, and that'll be good. If I stop recording, we could obviously save that out and give it a time range and everything else and just turn that off. We'll have back our beauty pass, and I'll add one more pass here called matte, and I'll start recording. For this one I'm actually going to just do a basic matte pass, so I might switch my renderer. I'm just going to go down to assign render and choose scanline. because scanline may or may not be a better renderer for me to choose in this type of render pass. I can choose V-Ray, Mental Ray, or any other renderer, including Quicksilver, that you might want to use. So I'm going to go out here and probably take the background and hide those objects, and I don't need to for the render pass, but I'm just going to hide the lights and the table for clarity's sake. And then I'm going to go and just double click on this chair. I'll bring up my material editor, and we'll set the chairs to red and the sofa we'll set to green. Now for this pass I might set the environment color to black, and I'll want to turn off exposure control for this as well, and then I can render this out. And you see we get our map pass of these objects. So we can isolate different objects and do all sorts of different things to them. I'm going to create one more simple pass, which will be similar to the beauty pass, but maybe I want to change the lighting or something in it. So I'm going to set this to blue lights, and I'm going to hit record. Now I could actually go and change some properties of lights or make a different light set, but for this setup what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my renderer, go into indirect illumination. I'm going to actually turn that on for this one, and I want to change my sample setup. So I had it set pretty low. I'm going to bring that there, and maybe I'll change this to Gauss just to change something up in the renderer. And then I'm going to stop recording. You can see all those different changes there. And if we render this out, it should render with the final gather coming through. Then I'm going to add just a little script to my state set. So when I go into add script, I'm going to just type in a quick little script to change all the lights in the scene to blue. So this is just an example of what you might be able to do with each state set. If there's anything that you aren't able to access, you can access that by applying a scripted state to your render state sets. So now if I switch into this state set and render this out, you'll see that even with the final gather, you can see all the lights have been changed to blue here. Okay, and if I cancel out of this and just back out of that state set, it's going to set those lights back to white. So that's a bit about what you can do with state sets and how you can use Zookeeper to manage your scene, whether it be object properties, view properties, different ways you want to work in 3ds Max, or creating simple camera shots that you can render out one after another very easily, or more intense full-blown render passes with the state set system. I hope you enjoyed the video, and just a reminder that this update is a free update to all registered and new users. If I didn't mention it before, you can see that we're running 3ds Max 2011 64-bit here. So Zookeeper's latest version is updated to work very well with anybody who's an early adopter to 2011. Thank you very much.